She was just a hotel maid trying to survive. He was a billionaire CEO who'd locked his heart away for a decade after unimaginable tragedy. When Jasmine Carter accidentally walked through the wrong door and found Alexander Grant standing there in nothing but a towel, neither of them could have predicted what would happen next. One moment of eye contact, one spark, one little girl who would change everything. But when his controlling mother discovered their secret relationship, she set out to destroy it. And Jasmine's dangerous ex saw the perfect opportunity to strike. Now, with a custody battle threatening to tear her daughter away, Jasmine faced an impossible choice. Walk away from the man she loved to protect her child, or fight for a fairy tale that everyone said was doomed from the start. Subscribe and comment below if you've ever had to choose between love and safety, because what happens next will leave you speechless. The hallway stretched forever. At least that's how it felt to Jasmine Carter at 11 o'clock on a Thursday night. Her feet ached. Her back hurt. Her uniform stuck to her skin from hours of steam and sweat. She pushed her cleaning cart down the thick hotel carpet, wheels squeaking with each step. Suite 47, Suite 48, Suite 49. Almost done. Just one more room and she could clock out. Just one more room and she could go home to Maya, her 6-year-old daughter, who was probably already asleep on Mrs. Rodriguez's couch downstairs. Jasmine stopped in front of Suite 50. She checked her list twice. The room should be empty. Guest checked out this morning. She pulled out her master key card. The lock clicked green. She pushed the door open. Steam poured out like a wave, thick, hot, scented with expensive soap she'd never be able to afford. "Oh no," she whispered. Someone was still here. She should have backed out right away, should have pulled the door closed and radioed the front desk. But her tired brain didn't work fast enough. The bathroom door swung open. A man stepped out. Not just any man. He wore nothing but a white towel wrapped low around his waist. Water dripped from his dark hair. It ran down his chest, over muscles she shouldn't be noticing. His skin was pale in the golden light. His eyes were the color of storm clouds. Those eyes locked onto hers. Time stopped. Jasmine's breath caught in her throat. Her hand froze on the door handle. Her heart hammered so loud she was sure he could hear it. He didn't move either. Just stood there, droplets sliding down his skin, staring at her like he'd seen a ghost. She started. "You," he said at the same time. They both stopped. Heat flooded Jasmine's face. Not from the steam, from pure raw embarrassment. "I'm so sorry," she managed. The words tumbled out fast. "The system said you checked out. I didn't know anyone was here. I'm so sorry." She backed toward the door, but her cart was in the way. She bumped into it. Bottles rattled. A spray can fell and rolled across the carpet. "Wait," he said. His voice was deep, quiet, careful, but she didn't wait. She couldn't. She grabbed the handle and pulled the door shut so hard it slammed. Then she stood in the hallway, breathing like she'd just run a mile. What was wrong with her? She'd walked in on guests before. Not often, but it happened. You apologized. You left. You moved on. This felt different. The way he'd looked at her. Like he was just as shocked, just as frozen. Like something had passed between them in that moment that she couldn't name. "Stop it," she told herself. "Stop being ridiculous." He was a guest. A rich guest. The kind who stayed in the luxury suites that cost more per night than she made in a month. And she was the maid, who'd just barged in on him half naked. She needed to report this. Needed to make sure the front desk knew the room was still occupied. Needed to fix this mistake before it became a complaint. But first, she needed her face to stop burning. Inside Suite 50, Alexander Grant stood perfectly still. His heart pounded against his ribs. He'd been alone for so long. Months. Years. He'd built walls so high that no one could climb them. He'd made rules for himself, no touch, no closeness, no risk. Not since Emma. The thought of his late fiancée sent the familiar ache through his chest. 10 years. It had been 10 years since the car accident that took her from him. 10 years since he'd let anyone close. 10 years since anyone had looked at him the way that woman just had. Startled, yes. Embarrassed, definitely. But something else too. Something in those dark brown eyes that made his carefully constructed walls shake. He moved to the window, looked out over the city lights, tried to steady his breathing. It was nothing, just a mistake. She'd be gone by tomorrow. He'd never see her again. That should have been a relief. So why did his hand still tingle where he'd almost reached for her? Jasmine made it to the staff lounge without running into anyone else. Small blessing. She found Maya curled up on the old couch, her daughter's small body tucked under a borrowed blanket. Mrs. Rodriguez sat in the corner, knitting something pink. "Long night?" the older woman asked. "You have no idea," Jasmine muttered. She gathered Maya gently. Her daughter stirred but didn't wake. So trusting, so peaceful. Jasmine's heart squeezed. Everything she did was for this little girl. Every extra shift, every aching muscle, every moment of exhaustion. Maya deserved better than this. Better than falling asleep in staff lounges. Better than a mother too tired to read bedtime stories. Better than a father who disappeared the moment things got hard. "Thank you," Jasmine whispered to Mrs. Rodriguez. "Any time, mija." The walk to their apartment took 15 minutes. Jasmine's arms burned by the time she climbed the 3 flights of stairs. Their building wasn't much. Peeling paint, broken elevator, sirens every night. But it was theirs. She tucked Maya into bed without waking her, kissed her forehead, whispered, "I love you." Then she collapsed on her own bed, still in her uniform. She should shower, should eat, should do a dozen things. But all she could think about was storm-grey eyes and water droplets sliding down pale skin. Stop, she squeezed her eyes shut. Tomorrow would be better. Tomorrow she'd forget. Tomorrow she'd... Her phone buzzed. A text from the hotel manager. "Guest in Suite 50 requests you specifically for service tomorrow night. Premium pay. Interested?" Jasmine's stomach dropped. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. The next evening, Jasmine walked into the hotel with her head high and her nerves screaming. She'd almost said no to the request, almost called in sick. But premium pay meant she could finally fix Maya's winter coat, meant she could buy the medicine her daughter needed for her cough. She couldn't say no, but she could survive one shift, could avoid eye contact, could do her job and get out. The plan lasted until she rounded the corner and nearly crashed into someone. Arms caught her, strong, steady, careful, a deep voice said. She looked up, storm-grey eyes. Him. He wore a suit now, expensive, dark blue. His hair was styled perfectly. He looked like he belonged on a magazine cover, but his hands were still on her arms, warm through her thin uniform. "You," he said. It wasn't a question. "Sir?" she managed. Professional, distant. "I apologize for last night. It won't happen again." "Alexander," he said. "My name is Alexander." She should pull away, should step back, should remember her place. But his hands were gentle, and his eyes held hers like she was something precious, something worth seeing. "Mommy." They both jumped. Jasmine turned to see Maya running down the hallway, pigtails bouncing. Her daughter shouldn't be here. Mrs. Rodriguez was supposed to be watching her. "Baby, what are you doing here?" Jasmine asked. She finally pulled away from Alexander's grip, crouched down to catch her daughter. "Mrs. Rodriguez had to go home early," Maya said, breathless and happy. "Emergency. So I came to find you. Am I in trouble?" "No, baby, no trouble." But this was trouble. Big trouble. Guests didn't want to see employees' kids running around. It looked unprofessional. Could get her written up. Could get her fired. "I'll call someone," Jasmine said quickly. "My neighbor. She can..." "Is this your daughter?" Alexander's voice came from above them. Jasmine looked up. He'd crouched down too. Now he was at Maya's level, smiling softly. "Hi," he said to Maya. "I'm Alexander. What's your name?" Maya, usually shy around strangers, smiled back. "Maya, I'm 6 3/4. 6 3/4. That's a very important age. That's what Mommy says too." Jasmine's heart clenched. She should interrupt. Should pull Maya away. Should? "Your mommy is very smart," Alexander said. His eyes flicked to Jasmine. Something warm passed between them. "And very kind. She's the best mommy in the whole world," Maya announced. "I believe you." The moment stretched, soft, tender, like the 3 of them existed in a bubble separate from the busy hotel around them. Then reality crashed back in. "I need to find childcare," Jasmine said, standing quickly. "I'm sorry. This won't interfere with my work. I promise. Don't apologize." Alexander stood too. "And don't rush. There's a staff lounge, isn't there? She can wait there. It's closed for cleaning. Then she can wait in my suite." Jasmine's eyes went wide. "What? No, I couldn't. I have a laptop. Games. Movies. She'll be comfortable." He looked at Maya. "Do you like movies?" "I love movies." Maya's whole face lit up. "Maya, no," Jasmine said firmly. "Mr. Alexander, I appreciate the offer, but please." His voice dropped lower, for her ears only. "Let me help. It's the least I can do after last night. Last night, when she'd walked in on him, when their eyes had locked and something had shifted in the universe. I don't accept charity," she said quietly. "It's not charity. It's kindness. There's a difference." She wanted to argue, wanted to refuse, But Maya was looking up at her with those big, hopeful eyes, and her phone had no new messages, no backup plan. 1 hour, Jasmine said finally. That's all. 1 hour, he agreed. But when his hand brushed hers as they walked Maya to his suite, Jasmine knew 1 hour wouldn't be enough to forget the way he made her feel. The suite was enormous. Maya gasped when they walked in. "Mommy, look, it's like a castle." It kind of was. Marble floors, crystal chandelier, windows overlooking the glittering city, furniture that probably cost more than their yearly rent. Jasmine's throat tightened. This was his world, not hers. But Alexander just smiled. "Want to see the TV? It's bigger than most movie screens." He showed Maya the remote, pulled up a streaming service, let her pick whatever she wanted. Within minutes, her daughter was curled up on the massive couch, eyes glued to an animated movie. "I'll check on her every 30 minutes, Jasmine said, "and I'll work double time to make up for—" "Stop." Alexander's voice was gentle. "You're allowed to breathe. I'm working. You're human first." The words hit her harder than they should have. When was the last time someone had seen her as human first? As more than just the maid? The single mum? The woman barely holding it together? "Thank you," she whispered. "You're welcome." Their eyes met, held, and there it was again. That pull, that invisible thread connecting them. Jasmine forced herself to look away. "I should go." "Right. Yes, of course." But neither of them moved. Maya's laughter broke the spell. She was giggling at something on screen, completely oblivious to the tension crackling between the adults. Jasmine grabbed her cart. 30 minutes. "I'll be here." She left before she could do something stupid, like stay. The next hour passed in a blur of rooms and routines, but Jasmine's mind wasn't on work. It was on the man in Suite 50, on the way he'd smiled at her daughter, on the gentleness in his voice, on the fact that he'd offered help without expecting anything in return. Men like that didn't exist, not in her experience. Her ex, Marcus, had promised the world, had swept her off her feet with smooth words and big dreams. Then he'd vanished. The second she'd told him she was pregnant. She'd been 22, alone, terrified. She'd learned her lesson. Men left. Men lied. Men were not to be trusted. So why did Alexander feel different? She was pushing her cart past a window when she saw her reflection. Dark skin, tired eyes, hair pulled back in a tight bun. Uniform that had seen better days. She looked exactly like what she was. A woman struggling, a woman exhausted. Not the kind of woman a man like Alexander would ever really see. The thought should have been comforting, should have reminded her to keep her distance. Instead, it just made her sad. She checked her watch. 30 minutes were up. Time to get Maya. When Jasmine opened the door to Suite 50, her heart stopped. Alexander was on the floor. Maya was on his back, giggling wildly. He was crawling around like a horse while her daughter bounced and laughed. "Faster! Faster!" Maya shrieked with joy. "I'm going as fast as I can." Alexander laughed. Actually laughed. Deep and rich and real. They both looked up when they heard the door. "Mommy!" Maya waved. "Alex is the best horse ever." "Alex?" Jasmine repeated. Alexander had the grace to look sheepish. He carefully let Maya slide off his back, then stood, brushing off his expensive suit pants. His hair was messed up. His tie was crooked. He looked more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. "She said Alexander was too long," he explained, "so we compromised." "I see." But Jasmine didn't see, didn't understand. Rich men in expensive suits didn't play horse with random kids, didn't let themselves get messed up, didn't look at single mothers like they were something precious. "Did you finish your work?" Alexander asked. "Almost. One more floor." "Mommy, can I stay here? Please." Maya clasped her hands together. "Alex said he has cookies." "Maya, we've imposed enough." "She's not imposing." Alexander's voice was firm. "And I do have cookies. The kitchen sent some up. Chocolate chip. Still warm." Maya's eyes went huge. "Chocolate chip? Mommy, please?" How could she say no? Maya rarely got treats like that. Their budget didn't allow for expensive cookies. For any cookies, most nights. "Okay," Jasmine said softly, "but you have to be good. And quiet. And she'll be perfect," Alexander said. "We'll be fine, won't we, Maya?" "Yes." Maya bounced on her toes. Jasmine nodded, backed toward the door. But as she reached for the handle, she slipped. Her foot caught on the edge of her cart. She stumbled sideways, arms flailing, cleaning supplies flying. She was going to hit the floor, going to crash hard, going to... Strong arms caught her. Alexander. He'd moved faster than she'd thought possible. Now he held her against his chest, one arm around her waist, the other supporting her back. They were so close, too close. She could feel his heartbeat, could smell his cologne, could see the flecks of blue in his grey eyes. His hand was on her hip, his fingers pressed into her side through the thin uniform. She felt every point of contact like electricity. "You okay?" he murmured. She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. His eyes dropped to her lips, lingered there for half a second. Then he seemed to remember himself, remember Maya watching, remember who they were and where they were and all the reasons this was impossible. He helped her stand, stepped back quickly, but his hands shook, and Jasmine realized something stunning. He'd felt it too, that jolt, that connection. He was just as rattled as she was. "Thank you," she managed. "Anytime." The word hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. Anytime. Like he meant it. Like he wanted to catch her again. Like he'd be there the next time she fell. Jasmine gathered the scattered supplies with trembling hands. "I should go." Right. But when she glanced back from the doorway, he was still standing there, still watching her. And for the first time in 10 years, Jasmine let herself wonder what if. That night, after Maya was asleep, Jasmine sat at their tiny kitchen table. She stared at the bills spread in front of her. Rent, utilities, groceries, Maya's doctor appointment next week. The numbers didn't add up. They never did. She'd been so careful, worked every extra shift she could, clipped coupons, bought second-hand, done everything right, and still, it wasn't enough. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "It was nice meeting Maya tonight. She's special, like her mother." Jasmine's heart skipped. How did he get her number? The hotel must have given it to him. For emergencies with Maya. She should be angry about that, about the violation of privacy, but she wasn't. She read the message 3 more times before setting the phone down, like her mother. When was the last time someone had called her special? When was the last time someone had seen her as more than just a struggling single mom? "Don't do this," she told herself. "Don't start hoping. Don't start dreaming." But it was too late. Hope had already taken root. Across the city, in a penthouse apartment, Alexander sat in the dark. He held a photo in his hands. Emma. Beautiful, laughing Emma. They'd been so young, so in love, so sure they had forever. Then forever had ended in a car crash on a rainy Tuesday night. He'd made a vow at her funeral. No one else. Never again. He'd love her memory and nothing more. For 10 years, he'd kept that vow. He hadn't touched another woman, hadn't wanted to, hadn't even noticed them, until tonight, until soft brown eyes and gentle hands and a laugh that made his frozen heart crack open. "I'm sorry," he whispered to Emma's picture. "I don't know what's happening to me." But that was a lie. He knew exactly what was happening. He was falling, and after 10 years of numbness, it terrified him. His phone sat beside him. He'd sent the text an hour ago. She hadn't responded. Maybe she wouldn't. Maybe she was smart enough to know this couldn't work. A CEO and a maid. A man drowning in wealth and a woman drowning in bills. A man who'd loved and lost and a woman who'd been abandoned. They made no sense. But when he closed his eyes, all he could see was her face. Her strength, her love for her daughter, her pride even when asking for help, her beauty, inside and out. He should let this go, should accept that some moments were meant to be just moments, nothing more. His phone buzzed. A reply. "You're kind, but kindness doesn't change reality. Our worlds are too different." Alexander stared at the words. Then he typed back. "Maybe. Or maybe kindness is exactly what changes everything. Let me try. Please, just one chance." He hit send before he could reconsider. Then he waited. 1 minute, 2, 5. His phone stayed silent. He set it down, stood, walked to the window. The city sprawled below him, a million lights in the darkness. He was used to getting what he wanted, used to success, used to control, but he couldn't control this, couldn't force her to trust him, couldn't buy her affection with money or gifts or power. All he could do was wait and hope. His phone buzzed. He grabbed it so fast he nearly dropped it. "Maya wants to know if you'd like to have dinner with us tomorrow. Nothing fancy, just pizza at our place. She says you're invited. I'm not sure it's a good idea, but..." Another pause, 3 dots appearing and disappearing. Then, "But she really wants you to come, so if you want to, you can." 6 p.m. Alexander's chest tightened. She was letting him in. Just a crack, just enough. It was more than he deserved, more than he'd dared to hope for. He typed back immediately. "I'd be honored." See you at 6. Then he sat down and let himself smile. Really smile. For the first time in 10 years. Jasmine had cleaned the apartment 3 times. It still looked small, still looked worn. The couch had a stain she couldn't get out. The kitchen table wobbled. The walls needed paint she couldn't afford, but it was clean, and it smelled like the vanilla candle Maya had insisted they light. Is Alex almost here? Maya asked for the 10th time. She wore her favorite dress, purple with butterflies. She'd brushed her own hair, put on her special shoes. Soon, baby. Do you think he'll like it here? Jasmine's heart squeezed. I think he'll like spending time with you. That's what matters. But she wondered the same thing. Would he take one look at their tiny apartment and realize how different their worlds were? Would he see the cracks in the ceiling and the tape on the window and decide this was a mistake? Would he leave before the pizza even arrived? The knock came at exactly 6 o'clock. Maya shrieked and ran to the door. He's here, he's here. Wait, let me... But Maya had already flung the door open. Alexander stood in the hallway holding flowers, yellow roses, and a stuffed unicorn that was almost as big as Maya. Hi! Maya bounced on her toes. Is that for me? It is. He knelt down, holding out the unicorn. I heard you like magical creatures. I love magical creatures. Maya grabbed the unicorn and hugged it tight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're very welcome. He stood, and his eyes found Jasmine's. She'd changed out of her uniform, wore jeans and a simple blue top, nothing fancy. But the way he looked at her made her feel like she was wearing a ball gown. These are for you. He held out the roses. Thank you for inviting me. You didn't have to, she started. I wanted to. Their fingers brushed as she took the flowers. That same electricity, that same pull. Come in, she said softly. He stepped inside, looked around, and Jasmine held her breath. This is lovely, he said. It's small. It's a home. There's a difference. The words settled something anxious in her chest. Maya, show Alex where to sit, Jasmine said. I'll put these in water. In the kitchen, she found an old jar that would work as a vase. Her hands shook as she arranged the flowers. Through the doorway, she could hear Maya chattering away, telling Alexander about her school and her friends and her favorite TV shows. And Alexander listened, really listened, asked questions, laughed at her jokes. Jasmine's throat went tight. This was dangerous. Not just for her, for Maya too. Her daughter was already attached, already lighting up around him. What would happen when he left? Because he would leave, eventually. Men always did. The pizza arrived 20 minutes later. Jasmine had ordered from the cheap place down the street. Nothing fancy, just pepperoni and cheese. But Alexander ate like it was the finest meal he'd ever had. They sat at the wobbly table, and Maya told stories between bites. She showed Alexander her drawings, her favorite books, the shell collection she kept in a shoebox under her bed. This one's from the beach, Maya said, holding up a white spiral shell. Mommy took me last summer. It was the best day ever. Tell me about it, Alexander said. So Maya did. She described the sand and the waves and the ice cream that melted too fast. She described building castles and finding treasures, and how her mommy had laughed so much that day. Jasmine remembered. It had been one of her few days off. She'd scraped together enough money for bus fare and a picnic lunch. Maya had been so happy, so free. It had been worth every penny. Your mommy is very good at making special days, Alexander said, looking at Jasmine. She's magic, Maya said seriously. She makes everything better. I can see that. The way he said it, the way he looked at her, like he really saw her. Not the maid, not the struggling single mom, not the woman in the worn jeans and the apartment with cracks in the ceiling. Just her, Jasmine, the person underneath all the roles and responsibilities. After dinner, Maya yawned, big and wide. Someone's sleepy, Jasmine said. I'm not tired, Maya protested, but her eyes were drooping. Bedtime, baby. But Alex is here. I'll still be here in the morning, Alexander said gently. Then he paused, looked at Jasmine. If that's okay. Her heart stuttered. You want to stay? I'd like to, if you'll let me. Maya perked up. Really? You'll be here when I wake up? If your mom says yes. 2 pairs of eyes turned to Jasmine, one hopeful and 6 years old, one careful and storm gray. She should say no, should protect her daughter, protect herself. But she was so tired of saying no, so tired of being careful, so tired of being alone. Okay, she whispered, you can stay. Maya cheered. Then she hugged Alexander tight around the waist. You're the best, Alex, the very best. He looked stunned, like he didn't know what to do with the affection. But slowly, carefully, he hugged her back, and Jasmine saw something crack in his expression, something vulnerable and aching and beautiful. After Maya was tucked in, with the new unicorn clutched tight, Jasmine and Alexander sat on the couch, not touching, but close enough that she could feel his warmth. The apartment was quiet, just the hum of the old refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic outside. "Thank you for letting me stay," he said finally. "Thank you for wanting to. I haven't done this in a long time." "Done what? This? Dinner? Family? Normal?" Jasmine turned to look at him, really look at him. In the soft lamplight, she could see the shadows under his eyes, the tension in his jaw, the weight he carried. "What happened to you?" she asked softly. For a long moment he didn't answer, just stared at his hands. Then he spoke. "Her name was Emma." Jasmine went still. "We were engaged, 22 years old, thought we had forever." His voice was quiet, hollow. "She died in a car accident 10 years ago. I was supposed to be driving that night, but I had a work meeting, so she went alone." "Alexander, I told myself it was my fault, that if I'd been there, maybe I could have prevented it. Maybe I could have saved her." He looked up, met Jasmine's eyes. "I made a promise at her funeral that I'd never let anyone else in. Never risk losing someone like that again." Tears blurred Jasmine's vision. "That's a lonely promise." "It was. It is." He paused. "Until you." The words hung in the air between them. "I don't understand why," he continued. "I don't understand what it is about you, but from the moment you opened that door, something changed. Something broke open that I'd kept locked away for so long." Jasmine's hand moved before she could stop it. She reached out, placed her palm over his. He sucked in a breath. "I'm scared," he whispered. "I'm terrified of this, of you, of what I'm feeling. I'm scared too." "You shouldn't be. You're so much braver than me." She laughed, but it came out wet. "I'm not brave. I'm barely holding it together most days. I work 3 jobs, I can't pay my bills. I have a daughter who deserves so much more than I can give her. And her father," her voice cracked, "her father left the second things got hard, told me I was on my own. So I learned not to trust, not to hope, not to believe in fairy tales." "This isn't a fairy tale," Alexander said. "No, it's not." She looked down at their joined hands, his pale skin against her dark skin. "It's real and messy and complicated, but maybe that's better, maybe." They sat in silence, hands touching, hearts racing. Then Alexander spoke again. "Can I ask you something?" "Okay. Why did you say yes? To dinner? To letting me stay? Why take the risk?" Jasmine thought about it, about all the reasons she should have said no, about all the walls she'd built to protect herself and Maya. But then she thought about the way he'd played horse with her daughter, the way he'd listened, the way he'd looked at her like she mattered. "Because," she said slowly, "I think you're worth it." His eyes went bright, like she'd given him something precious. "I think you're worth it too," he whispered. Then, so slowly she could have stopped him, he leaned closer. She didn't stop him. Their lips met, soft, tentative, careful. It was nothing like the kisses in movies. There were no fireworks, no sweeping music, but it was real, and it was honest. And it was the first time in years that Jasmine had let herself feel anything other than fear. When they pulled apart, Alexander's hand came up to cup her cheek. "I don't know how to do this," he said. "I don't know how to be what you need. I don't either, but maybe we can figure it out together." He smiled, small and real. Together, they stayed on the couch for hours, talking, learning, sharing pieces of themselves they'd kept hidden for so long. He told her about his company, about the pressure, about how lonely it was at the top. She told him about Maya's father, about the betrayal, about learning to stand on her own. And slowly, carefully, they built something between them, something fragile and new and terrifying, something that felt like hope. Alexander woke to the sound of laughter. For a moment he didn't know where he was. The couch beneath him was lumpy. A thin blanket covered him. Early morning light filtered through cheap curtains. Then he remembered Jasmine's apartment. He'd fallen asleep talking to her. She must have covered him with the blanket after he'd drifted off. The laughter came again, from the kitchen. He sat up, running a hand through his hair. His suit was wrinkled. He probably looked terrible. But when he walked into the kitchen and saw Jasmine and Maya making pancakes together, flour on their noses and joy on their faces, he didn't care. "Alex," Maya spotted him first. "You stayed. You really stayed. I told you I would." Jasmine turned, spatula in hand. She wore pajama pants and an old t-shirt. No makeup, hair in a messy bun. She was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. "Morning," she said softly. "We're making breakfast. Hope you like pancakes." "I love pancakes." "Good, because Maya insists on making them in funny shapes, so they might look a little weird." "They're not weird," Maya protested. "They're art." Alexander laughed. Actually laughed. The sound felt rusty but good. They ate breakfast together. Maya's art pancakes really did look weird. Lopsided hearts and something that might have been a cat, but they tasted perfect because it wasn't about the food. It was about the three of them around the table, about Maya's chatter and Jasmine's soft smiles, and the feeling that for the first time in 10 years, Alexander belonged somewhere. After breakfast, he checked his phone. 20 missed calls, 15 texts, all from his mother, Caroline. He sighed. "Everything okay?" Jasmine asked. "My mother. She wants to talk." "About what?" He hesitated, but they'd promised honesty. "About you." Jasmine's expression shifted, closed off a little. "She doesn't approve. She doesn't know you. She knows enough. Rich son, poor maid. It's not exactly a fairy tale she'd want. I don't care what she wants." But the words felt hollow, because he did care, because his mother's opinion had always mattered, because disappointing her felt like failing Emma's memory somehow. Jasmine must have seen it on his face. "You should call her back," she said quietly. "Family is important. So are you." The words came out fierce, final. Jasmine's eyes went wide. "I mean it," Alexander continued. "I'm not walking away from this. From you, no matter what my mother says. You don't know what you're promising. Yes, I do." But even as he said it, doubt crept in, because his mother was formidable, because she'd lost Emma too and had mourned alongside him for 10 years, because disappointing her felt like betraying the past. Could he really choose this? Choose Jasmine and Maya, and a future that terrified him? His phone rang again. His mother. Again. "Answer it," Jasmine said. "I'll give you privacy." She took Maya to her bedroom, leaving Alexander alone in the kitchen. He answered. "Where have you been?" Caroline's voice was sharp. "I've been calling all night. I was with a friend. The maid." "I know. My sources at the hotel told me." Of course she knew. Caroline Grant always knew everything. "Her name is Jasmine," Alexander said firmly. "And yes, I was with her." Silence. Then, "Alexander, son, I know you're lonely. I know these past 10 years have been hard. But this is not the answer. You don't even know her. I know enough. She has a child, no husband, works multiple jobs just to survive. What could you possibly have in common with someone like that?" The words hit like punches, because they were the same doubts he'd had, the same fears. But then he thought of Jasmine's strength, her love for her daughter, her pride and her courage, and the way she made him feel alive again. "Everything," he said. "I have everything in common with her. Where it matters. You're not thinking clearly. You're substituting grief with charity. This will end badly for both of you. That's not what this is, isn't it? Tell me honestly, Alexander, what happens when reality sets in, when you realize you can't fix her problems with money, when the novelty wears off, when you're left with nothing but the memory of Emma and the guilt of moving on?" Each question landed like a knife, because he didn't have answers, because he was terrified of exactly those things, because his mother was voicing every fear he'd been trying to ignore. "I have to go," he said. "Alexander, please, I'm trying to protect you." "I know, but I don't need protecting, not from this." He hung up before she could respond, but his hands shook and doubt had taken root. What if she was right? Jasmine knew something was wrong the moment Alexander came to find her. His face was closed off, guarded, like he'd put the walls back up. "I should go," he said. "I have work, meetings." It was Saturday. She doubted he had meetings. "Okay," she said simply. "Thank you for dinner and breakfast. It was..." He paused. "It was wonderful. But nothing. I just need to go." Liar, she thought. But she didn't say it. Maya came running out. "You're leaving?" "Just for a little while. I'll see you soon. Promise?" He crouched down, looked her in the eyes. "I promise." Then he stood and left without looking back at Jasmine. The door clicked shut. Maya turned to her mother. "Is he mad at us?" "No, baby. He's just busy." But Jasmine knew the truth. His mother had gotten to him, had planted doubts, had reminded him of all the reasons this couldn't work. And Alexander, for all his strength, was afraid. She should be relieved, should be glad he was backing away before anyone got hurt. But all she felt was hollow. 3 days passed. No calls, no texts, no visits. Jasmine worked her shifts at the hotel. Avoided Suite 50. Told herself she'd known this would happen. Maya asked about Alex every night. Soon, Jasmine would say. He's just busy. But soon never came. On the fourth day, Jasmine came home to find someone waiting outside her apartment. Not Alexander. Marcus, her ex, Maya's father, the man who'd abandoned them when Maya was born. He leaned against the wall, looking exactly the same. Handsome, charming, dangerous. Jasmine, he said with that smile she used to love. Long time. What do you want? She kept Maya behind her. Can't a father visit his daughter? You're not a father. You're a stranger who shares DNA. His smile faded. That's cold, Jazz. Real cold. You left us. You don't get to show up now and play daddy. I heard about your new boyfriend. His eyes glinted. Rich guy, CEO. Must be nice. Ice flooded her veins. That's none of your business. Maybe, or maybe I'm thinking Maya deserves to live with her real father. The one who won't abandon her when the novelty wears off. You wouldn't. Try me. I've got a lawyer now. Got rights. He was lying. He had to be lying. He'd never cared about Maya. Never sent money or called or even asked how she was doing. But the threat was real. The fear was real. Stay away from us, Jasmine said. Her voice shook. Or what? You'll sick your rich boyfriend on me? Marcus laughed. Good luck with that. I give it another week before he's gone. Rich guys don't stick around for maids and their kids. They just don't. He walked away, hands in his pockets, whistling. Jasmine stood frozen. Maya tugged on her hand. Mommy? Who was that? No one, baby. No one important. But as she unlocked their door, Jasmine's mind raced. Marcus was dangerous. Always had been. If he really filed for custody, even if he didn't win, the process would destroy them. Lawyer fees, court dates. Maya caught in the middle. She needed help. She needed Alexander. But Alexander had disappeared. And maybe Marcus was right. Maybe rich guys didn't stick around. Maybe she'd been a fool to hope. That night, Jasmine's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Jasmine, a woman's voice. Cultured. Cold. This is Caroline Grant, Alexander's mother. I think we should meet. The coffee shop was expensive. The kind where a single cup cost more than Jasmine spent on groceries for a day. Caroline Grant sat in the corner booth, perfectly composed. Designer suit, pearl necklace, not a hair out of place. She looked like money, like power, like everything Jasmine would never be. Thank you for coming, Caroline said as Jasmine slid into the seat across from her. I almost didn't, but you did, which tells me you care about my son. Jasmine said nothing, just waited. Caroline studied her, those same storm-grey eyes as Alexander, but colder, harder. You're not what I expected, Caroline said finally. What did you expect? Someone who would take advantage, someone who saw dollar signs instead of a person. She paused. But I've had you investigated. You work hard. You love your daughter. You've never asked Alexander for money. Heat flooded Jasmine's face. You had me investigated? I protect my family. Always. Caroline's voice was ice. My son has been broken for 10 years. Emma's death nearly destroyed him. I won't watch him get hurt again. I'm not trying to hurt him. Perhaps not intentionally, but you will. It's inevitable. Caroline leaned forward. Your worlds are too different. The pressure will crush what you have. The media will tear you apart. His business associates will whisper. Your daughter will be caught in the middle of something she doesn't understand. Each word landed like a stone. I know you care about him, Caroline continued. I can see it, which is why I'm asking you to walk away now. Before it gets worse, before Maya gets attached, before Alexander falls so deep, he can't recover when this ends. When, Jasmine repeated. Not if. There is no if. I've seen this before. Different circumstances, but the same ending. Love isn't enough. It never is. Jasmine's hands trembled in her lap. She wanted to argue, wanted to fight, but every word Caroline spoke echoed her own fears. What do you want from me? She asked quietly. Distance. Let him go. He'll hurt for a while, but he'll heal, and you can go back to your life without the complications my son brings. My daughter loves him. Children are resilient. She'll forget. Will he? Caroline's expression flickered, just for a second. Eventually, Jasmine stood. I need to think. Don't think too long. The longer you wait, the worse the damage. Outside, Jasmine walked for blocks without seeing anything. Her mind spun. Caroline was right about so many things. The worlds were different. The pressure would be enormous. Maya could get hurt, but what about the way Alexander looked at her? What about the promises they'd made? What about the fact that she was falling in love with him? Her phone buzzed. A text from Alexander. "I'm sorry I disappeared. Can we talk? Please." Her finger hovered over the screen. Then she typed, "Meet me at the park, the one with the duck pond, tomorrow at noon." His response came immediately. "I'll be there." Alexander arrived at the park 15 minutes early. He'd barely slept in 4 days, barely eaten, barely functioned. His mother's words haunted him. His own fears consumed him. But underneath it all was one simple truth. He missed Jasmine, missed Maya, missed the feeling of being part of something real. He saw her before she saw him. She sat on a bench near the pond, watching the ducks. Her shoulders were tight. Her expression was sad. He'd done that. He'd hurt her by running away. "Jasmine," he said softly. She looked up. Those beautiful brown eyes were tired. "Hi." He sat beside her, not too close, giving her space. "I'm sorry," he said. "I shouldn't have disappeared like that. It was cowardly." "Your mother called you." "Yes." "What did she say?" He hesitated. "But honesty, always honesty. That I was making a mistake, that I was substituting grief with charity, that this would end badly." Jasmine nodded slowly, like she'd expected it. "She said similar things to me." "She what?" "She had me investigated, asked me to walk away for your sake." Anger flared hot in Alexander's chest. "She had no right." "She was protecting you, I understand that. Don't defend her." "I'm not, I'm just..." Jasmine's voice cracked. "Maybe she's right." The words hit him like a physical blow. "Don't say that. Look at us, Alexander. Really look." She gestured between them. "I work 3 jobs. You run a company. I live in a tiny apartment with cracks in the ceiling. You have a penthouse. I worry about paying rent. You worry about stock prices. None of that matters." "It does. It will." She turned to face him fully. "What happens when the newness fades? When reality sets in? When you realize I can't fit into your world and you can't fit into mine? We'll make our own world. That's a fantasy. It's a choice." He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. The rejection stung worse than anything his mother had said. "Maya's father came back," Jasmine said quietly. Alexander went still. "What?" "Marcus. He showed up at my apartment, threatened to file for custody, said I was unfit because I'm dating someone rich who'll abandon us." Her voice shook. "He wants money, or he wants to hurt me. Maybe both. We'll fight him. I'll hire the best lawyers." "See?" She laughed, but it was bitter. "That's exactly what he said you'd do. Throw money at the problem. But money doesn't fix everything, Alexander. Sometimes it makes things worse. So what do you want me to do? Walk away, let him win?" "I don't know." The words came out sharp, desperate. "I don't know what I want. I just know that I'm terrified. Terrified of losing my daughter. Terrified of trusting you. Terrified that everyone's right and this is doomed from the start." Silence fell between them. A duck quacked. Children laughed in the distance. The world kept spinning while theirs fell apart. "I love you," Alexander said. Jasmine's head snapped up. Tears filled her eyes. "I love you," he repeated. "I didn't mean to, didn't plan to, but I do. And I'm terrified too. Terrified that I'll lose you like I lost Emma. Terrified that I'm not enough. Terrified that I'll fail you and Maya." He moved closer. "But I'd rather be terrified with you than numb without you." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I can't ask you to fight this battle. You're not asking. I'm choosing. You don't know what you're choosing." "Yes, I do." His voice was firm, final. "I'm choosing you. I'm choosing Maya. I'm choosing us. Whatever that looks like, whatever it costs." More tears fell. "What if your mother's right? What if we destroy each other? Then we'll rebuild. Together." She covered her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook. Alexander couldn't stand it anymore. He pulled her into his arms. She resisted for half a second, then collapsed against his chest, sobbing. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Me too. I don't know how to do this." "Neither do I, but we'll figure it out." They sat like that for a long time, holding each other, letting the fear and hope and love tangle together into something messy and real and theirs. Finally, Jasmine pulled back, wiped her eyes. "Maya's been asking about you every night. I miss her too. She made you something, a drawing of the 3 of us." Jasmine's voice went soft. "She drew us as a family." Alexander's chest tightened. "Can I see it? Come over for dinner tonight. She can show you herself." It wasn't a declaration of love, wasn't a promise of forever, but it was a yes. a willingness to try, and right now, that was enough. That evening felt like coming home. Maya launched herself at Alexander the moment he walked through the door. He caught her, spinning her around while she giggled. "You came back!" she shouted. "I knew you would. I told Mommy you would." "Of course I came back." He set her down gently. "I made a promise, remember? Mommy said sometimes people break promises." Alexander's eyes found Jasmine's across the room. "Not this one. Never this one." They had spaghetti for dinner, Maya's favorite. She chattered non-stop, telling Alexander everything he'd missed. Her week at school, the book she was reading, the dream she'd had about flying, and Alexander listened like every word mattered. After dinner, Maya brought out the drawing, 3 stick figures holding hands. One tall with dark hair, one smaller with a ponytail, one tiny with pigtails. Above them in crayon letters, "Our family." "Do you like it?" Maya asked nervously. Alexander stared at the drawing, at the simple representation of something he'd thought he'd never have again. Family. "It's perfect," he said, voice rough. "Can I keep it?" "Really?" Maya's whole face lit up. "Really? I'll treasure it forever." She hugged him tight, and over her head, Alexander's eyes met Jasmine's. She was crying, silent tears streaming down her face, but she was smiling too. After Maya went to bed, Jasmine and Alexander stood in the kitchen washing dishes. It was domestic, normal, simple, and somehow that made it more meaningful than any grand gesture could have been. "I meant what I said earlier," Alexander said quietly, "about loving you." Jasmine's hands stilled in the soapy water. "I know. You don't have to say it back, not until you're ready." "I'm not sure I'll ever be ready." "Not completely." She turned to face him. "But I feel it. Even when I'm scared, even when I'm sure this is a terrible idea, I feel it." "That's enough, is it?" "Yes." He dried his hands and stepped closer, cupped her face gently. "We're going to face resistance," he said. "From my mother, from your ex, from people who don't understand, but I'm not going anywhere, no matter what." "You can't promise that." "Yes, I can, because I've already lost everything once. I know what that feels like. And I know this," he pressed his hand over his heart, "is worth fighting for." Jasmine reached up and covered his hand with hers. "Okay, okay, okay. We'll try. We'll fight. She smiled through her tears. "We'll see what happens." It wasn't a fairy tale ending, wasn't a guarantee, but it was real and honest and brave. And when Alexander kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise, Jasmine let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, they could make this work. The next 2 weeks were the happiest of Jasmine's life. Alexander came over every evening after work. Sometimes they cooked dinner together. Sometimes he brought takeout. Once he tried to make pancakes and nearly set off the smoke alarm, sending Maya into fits of laughter. They went to the park, to the zoo, to the free museum downtown, where Maya pressed her nose against every exhibit. They built something, slowly, carefully, a routine, a rhythm, a life that included all 3 of them. Jasmine saw Alexander come alive in ways she suspected he hadn't in years. He laughed more, relaxed more, let himself be silly with Maya, and Maya bloomed under his attention. She drew him pictures constantly, saved jokes to tell him, asked him to read her bedtime stories in funny voices. It terrified Jasmine how easily they fit together, how natural it all felt, because she knew, deep down, that the higher they climbed, the harder the fall would be. The fall came on a Tuesday. Jasmine came home from work to find an envelope taped to her door. Official, legal. Her hands shook as she opened it. Marcus was filing for custody, claiming she was an unfit mother, that she was neglecting Maya, that she was using her daughter to trap a wealthy man. Every word was a lie. Every accusation was poison. But it was official, real, legal. She had 30 days to respond. 30 days to find a lawyer she couldn't afford. 30 days to fight for her daughter against a man who'd abandoned them, but suddenly wanted to play father. She called Alexander immediately. "I'm coming over," he said, the moment he heard her voice. "You don't have to." "I'm already on my way." He arrived 20 minutes later, took one look at her face and pulled her into his arms. "We'll fight this," he said, "together. He's doing this to hurt me, to punish me for being happy. I know, but he won't win. You can't guarantee that." "I can hire the best lawyers, I can—" "Alexander," she pulled back, "you can't fix this with money. Then tell me what to do. Tell me how to help." But she didn't know, because this was bigger than money, bigger than lawyers. This was about her daughter's future, about the system and its biases. about a black single mother fighting a battle she might not win. "Just be here," she whispered. "That's all I need. Just be here." So he stayed, all night, holding her while she cried, making plans while she panicked, being exactly what she needed even when she didn't know how to ask. But in the morning, when he left for work, doubt crept back in. What if Marcus was right? What if her relationship with Alexander made her look unstable? What if loving him cost her everything? Alexander sat in his office, staring at his computer screen without seeing it. He'd called his lawyer, started the process of helping Jasmine fight Marcus's custody claim, but something felt wrong, off. He was inserting himself into Jasmine's life in ways that might hurt more than help. He was the reason Marcus was attacking. He was the complication that made everything harder. His phone buzzed. His mother. He ignored it. It buzzed again and again. Finally, he answered. "What? I warned you," Caroline said. "I told you this would happen. How do you know about the custody filing?" "I know everything. That's what happens when you date someone publicly, when you make a spectacle of yourself." The vultures circle. "This isn't my fault, isn't it? You brought attention to her, you made her a target. That man sees dollar signs, sees an opportunity, and you handed it to him." The words cut deep because they echoed his own fears. "What do you want from me, Mother? I want you to think, really think. Is your happiness worth destroying hers? Worth putting that little girl through a custody battle? Worth the pain you're causing?" "I'm not causing pain. I'm trying to help." "Help?" Caroline's laugh was harsh. "You're making everything worse, and you know it. Deep down, you know it." Alexander hung up, but the damage was done. The doubt had taken root, and it grew like poison. That night, Alexander didn't come over. He texted, "Something came up at work. I'm sorry." Jasmine stared at the message, read between the lines. He was pulling away. Again, Maya asked about him at bedtime. "Is Alex coming tomorrow?" "I don't know, baby." "Did we do something wrong?" "No. Never. He's just busy." But Maya wasn't fooled. She curled up small in her bed, clutching her unicorn. "I don't want him to leave," she whispered. "I know, baby. Me neither." Alone in her room, Jasmine felt the walls closing in. Marcus's custody threat, Alexander's distance, the bills piling up, the weight of it all crushing her. She'd known this would happen, had warned herself not to hope, not to dream, not to believe in fairy tales, but she'd done it anyway. And now she was paying the price. 3 days passed. Alexander didn't call, didn't text, didn't visit. Jasmine went to work, came home, held Maya when she cried, pretended everything was fine. But inside, she was breaking. On the 4th day, Maya took matters into her own hands. She found the crayons and paper, drew a picture with fierce concentration. Then she wrote in her careful 6-year-old handwriting, "Dear Alex, please don't leave us. We miss you. Love, Maya." She folded it carefully, put it in an envelope, walked downstairs to where Mrs. Rodriguez was getting her mail. "Can you help me mail this?" she asked. "It's really important." Mrs. Rodriguez looked at the address, Alexander's office building, the one Maya had seen on the business card he'd left on their table. "Of course, Mija." The letter went out that afternoon. Alexander sat in his penthouse, staring at Emma's photo. He'd been here before, in this exact spot, drowning in grief and fear, and the certainty that he was doing the wrong thing. 4 days since he'd seen Jasmine, 4 days of his mother's words echoing in his head. "You're making everything worse." Maybe he was. Maybe walking away was the kindest thing he could do. Let Jasmine fight her battle without his interference. Let her life return to normal. Let Maya forget about him before she got hurt. It was the logical choice, the safe choice, the choice that was killing him. His assistant knocked. "Mr. Grant? A letter came for you, personal delivery." "Leave it on the desk." But she didn't leave. "Sir, it's from a child. I think you'll want to see it." His heart stopped. He opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a drawing, 3 stick figures, one tall, one medium, one small, and the words, "Please don't leave us." Alexander's vision blurred. Maya's careful handwriting, her innocent plea, her hope that he'd come back. He'd done this. He'd made her love him, made her believe he'd stay, made promises he was too afraid to keep. What kind of man did that make him? He grabbed his keys, didn't bother with a coat, ran out of his penthouse like his life depended on it. Because maybe it did. Alexander drove too fast, ran red lights, didn't care. He had to get to them, had to fix this, had to prove that he wasn't like everyone else who'd walked away from Jasmine and Maya. He parked badly and took the stairs 2 at a time. 3rd floor, down the hallway, their door. He knocked hard, no answer. He knocked again. Jasmine, Maya, please, I'm sorry, please open the door. Still nothing. Panic clawed at his throat. What if they were gone? What if he was too late? Then he heard it. Soft footsteps. The lock turning. The door opened a crack. Jasmine stood there. Her eyes were red. Her face was tired. She looked at him like she wasn't sure he was real. You came, she whispered. I got Maya's letter. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. She mailed it without telling me. I didn't know until Mrs. Rodriguez mentioned it. Can I come in, please? She hesitated, then stepped back. The apartment felt different, colder, emptier, like the joy had been sucked out of it. Where's Maya? He asked. Asleep, finally. She cried herself out tonight. Jasmine's voice broke. She thinks you left because of something she did. I told her it wasn't her fault, but she doesn't believe me. The words were knives to his chest. I need to see her. She's sleeping. Please. Something in his voice must have convinced her. She nodded toward the bedroom. Alexander walked in quietly. The nightlight cast soft shadows. Maya was curled up in bed. The unicorn he'd given her clutched tight. Her face was tear-stained. He knelt beside the bed, reached out, and gently touched her hair. I'm so sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. Maya stirred. Her eyes opened. For a moment she just stared at him, like she thought he was a dream. Then she threw herself at him. Alex, you came back. You really came back. He caught her, held her tight, let his own tears fall into her hair. I'm here, he said. I'm here and I'm not leaving again, I promise, I swear. You left before. Mommy was sad, I was sad. I know, and I was wrong. So wrong. He pulled back to look at her. I got scared. But being scared isn't an excuse for hurting people you love. And I love you, Maya. I love you and your mum so much. Really? Really? Even though we don't live in a big house? Even though we don't have lots of money? Alexander's heart shattered, especially because of who you are. You and your mum are the most important people in my world. Nothing else matters. Maya hugged him again, tighter this time. Over her head, Alexander saw Jasmine standing in the doorway, watching, crying. I love you too, Alex, Maya said. You're the best not daddy ever. Not daddy? 'Cause you're not my real daddy, but you're better. The words hit him like a blessing, like a gift he didn't deserve but would treasure anyway. How about we get you back to sleep, he said gently. I'll stay right here, okay? Promise? Promise. He tucked her back in, sat on the edge of the bed, and he sang, badly, a lullaby he half remembered from childhood. Maya giggled at first, then yawned, then her eyes drifted closed. Don't go, she mumbled. I won't. You're staying forever. If your mom will let me. She will. She loves you too, she told Mrs. Rodriguez. Alexander smiled through his tears. Did she now? But Maya was already asleep, peaceful, safe. He stood carefully, walked to the doorway where Jasmine waited. We need to talk, she said quietly. They sat on the couch, not touching. The space between them felt like an ocean. I'm sorry, Alexander said, for disappearing, for being a coward, for... Stop! Jasmine held up a hand. I need to say something first, and I need you to listen. He nodded. She took a deep breath. I've been angry at you, hurt, but I've also been honest with myself, and the truth is, I was pushing you away before you ever pulled back. I was so convinced this would fail that I was already looking for the exit. That's not... Let me finish. Her voice was firm but gentle. Your mother scared me. Marcus scared me. But mostly, I scared myself. Because for the first time in years, I wanted something more than survival. I wanted love. I wanted family. I wanted the fairy tale I'd stopped believing in. She looked at him, and that terrified me. It terrifies me too. I know. Which is why we need to be honest about what we're getting into. She counted on her fingers. Your mother doesn't approve. My ex is trying to destroy me. The media will judge us. People will whisper. It's going to be hard. Really hard. I know. But here's what I realized while you were gone. Her voice softened. Hard doesn't mean impossible, and fear doesn't mean we give up. Maya deserves to see her mother fight for something she believes in, and I believe in this, in us, even when I'm terrified. Alexander's chest felt too tight, too full. I believe in us too, he said. I let my mother's words get into my head, let the fear win. But watching Maya sleep just now, seeing her trust me even after I let her down, his voice broke. I can't waste this, can't waste us, not again. So what do? We fight for each other, for Maya, for the family we're building. He reached for her hand. This time she let him take it, and we stop running when things get hard. Okay, okay, she smiled, small but real. Okay. Then she leaned in and kissed him, soft, sweet, full of promise. When they pulled apart, Alexander rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he whispered. I love you too, she whispered back. Even though you're a terrible singer, he laughed, actually laughed. Maya told you? I heard the walls are thin. I'll take lessons. Don't you dare. It was perfect. They sat like that for a long time, holding each other, letting the fear fade, letting the hope grow. Tomorrow would bring challenges. Marcus, Caroline, the custody battle, the world's judgment. But tonight, they had each other, and that was enough. The next morning, Alexander made a phone call. I need your help, he said when Marcus answered. Let's meet, just the two of us. They chose a neutral location, a diner downtown. Marcus showed up late, smirking. The rich boyfriend, he said, sliding into the booth. Finally, I was wondering when you'd show your face. Alexander didn't rise to the bait. What do you want? What do you think? Money? Recognition? What's mine? Maya isn't yours. You gave up that right when you left. Marcus leaned back. Maybe. But the courts don't see it that way. Father's rights and all, even a bad father is better than no father, right? You don't believe that. You don't even want Maya. This is about hurting Jasmine. Maybe, or maybe I see an opportunity. Rich guy falls for poor girl. Rich guy wants to play hero. Rich guy will pay anything to make the problem go away. Marcus's smile was cold. So yeah, I'll take money, a lot of it, and then I'll disappear. Easy. Every instinct in Alexander screamed to agree, to pay the man off, to make this go away with a check. But that's not what Jasmine needed. That's not what was right. No, Alexander said. Marcus blinked. What? No, I'm not paying you, and you're not filing for custody. You're going to drop the claim and disappear, for good. Or what, you'll fight me? Please, I've got nothing to lose, but Jasmine, she'll lose everything. Her reputation, her daughter, her fancy new life. Maybe. Alexander leaned forward. Or maybe you'll lose instead. Because I've had you investigated too, and I know about the warrants in Nevada, the debts in Arizona, the restraining order in California. Marcus's face paled. One phone call, Alexander continued, and I can make your life very difficult. Legal, but difficult. Or you can walk away now. Drop the custody claim, sign away your parental rights, and I'll make sure the past stays in the past. You're blackmailing me. I'm protecting my family. There's a difference. They stared at each other. Two men, two different kinds of strength, two different motivations. Marcus looked away first. Fine, he muttered. I'll drop it. But if she ever asks for child support, she won't, because you'll sign away your rights. Legally, permanently, today. Alexander slid a folder across the table. My lawyer drew up the papers. Sign them. Walk away. Never contact Jasmine or Maya again. For a long moment, Marcus just stared at the papers. Then he grabbed the pen, signed his name, fast, messy, angry. So you think you're a hero, he said, but you'll leave too, eventually, everyone does. No, Alexander said quietly. I won't. Marcus stood, threw money on the table. We'll see. Then he walked out of the diner and out of their lives. Alexander sat alone, shaking, not from fear, from relief. It was done. One battle won, but so many more to fight. He pulled out his phone and called Jasmine. It's over, he said when she answered. Marcus dropped the custody claim, signed away his rights. He's gone. Silence, then a sob. You did it, she said. You actually did it. We did it. Together. How? I'll tell you everything tonight, but Jasmine, we won. We really won. She cried, happy tears this time, healing tears, and Alexander felt something shift inside him, something that had been broken for 10 years. He wasn't just surviving anymore, he was living, really living, and it felt like coming home. That evening, Alexander received an unexpected visitor, his mother. She arrived at Jasmine's apartment unannounced, knocked on the door with her usual authority. Jasmine opened it, surprise clear on her face. Mrs. Grant, may I come in? Caroline's voice was stiff, formal. I'd like to speak with you, and with my son. Jasmine stepped aside. Alexander came to the door, tension in every line of his body. Mother, what are you doing here? I came to apologize. The words hung in the air like something impossible. What? Alexander said. Caroline looked uncomfortable, like apologizing was a foreign language she'd never learned to speak. May I sit? She asked. They moved to the small living room. Maya peeked out from her bedroom, curious. Caroline saw her, and something in her expression softened. "You must be Maya," she said. Maya nodded shyly. "I'm Alexander's mother. You can call me Caroline." "Are you nice?" Maya asked bluntly. Despite everything, Alexander almost smiled. Trust Maya to cut to the heart of things. "I'm trying to be," Caroline said, and she sounded like she meant it. Maya studied her. Then, in that trusting way children have, she walked over. "Do you want to see my drawings? Alex says I'm really good. I would love that." Maya grabbed her hand and pulled her to the kitchen table, spread out her latest artwork, started explaining each one with enthusiasm, and Caroline listened, really listened. Alexander and Jasmine watched from the doorway, both stunned. "Is this real?" Jasmine whispered. "I have no idea." After 10 minutes of Maya's chatter, Caroline gently excused herself, came back to where Alexander and Jasmine stood. "She's wonderful," Caroline said quietly. "Smart, creative, loving." She looked at Jasmine. "You've done an incredible job raising her, alone, against difficult odds. That takes strength. I'm not sure I could have managed." Jasmine's eyes widened. "I came here to tell you I was wrong," Caroline continued. "I thought I was protecting my son, but I was really protecting myself. From loss, from change, from watching him move forward when I'm still stuck in the past." She turned to Alexander. "Emma wouldn't want this. She wouldn't want you frozen in grief. She'd want you happy, living, loving." Alexander's vision blurred. "Mom, let me finish." Caroline's voice shook. "I lost Emma too, like a daughter, and when you shut down after her death, I told myself it was grief, that you'd heal eventually. But 10 years passed and you didn't, and I accepted that because it meant I didn't have to heal either." She looked at Jasmine. "Then you came along, and you made him laugh again, made him live again, and instead of being grateful, I was angry, because it meant letting go, moving forward, accepting that life continues even after devastating loss." Tears streamed down her face now, proper, composed Caroline Grant, crying in a tiny apartment. "I'm sorry," she said, "to both of you. I tried to tear you apart because I was afraid. But watching Maya just now, seeing her trust and joy and love," she smiled through her tears, "I realized that maybe this is what healing looks like. Not forgetting the past, but letting it make room for the future." Alexander pulled his mother into a hug. She held him tight. "I'm still scared," she whispered. "Scared of losing you, scared of more heartbreak." "Me too, but I'm doing it anyway." "I can see that." She pulled back, looked at Jasmine. "May I start over? With you? Please?" Jasmine's own tears fell freely. "Yes." Caroline stepped forward, hesitated, then opened her arms, and Jasmine stepped into them. Two women, two different worlds, two different struggles, finding common ground in love and loss and the courage to try again. Maya appeared between them. "Are you part of our family now?" she asked Caroline. Caroline looked down at her, at this beautiful, trusting child who'd seen so much hardship but still believed in love. "If you'll have me," Caroline said softly. "Okay." Maya hugged her legs. "But you have to come to our dinners and play games and maybe read stories sometimes." "I think I can manage that." Alexander watched his mother transform before his eyes. The ice melting, the walls coming down. The woman she'd been before grief had hardened her, emerging again. It wasn't a miracle. It was something better. It was real, messy, imperfect, human. It was family. 2 weeks later, Alexander took Jasmine to a charity gala. She'd protested. "I don't belong there. I don't have the right clothes. I'll embarrass you." "You could never embarrass me," he'd said, "and I had something made for you. Custom. Please, let me do this." The dress was simple but elegant, deep blue. It fit perfectly, made her feel beautiful in a way she never had before. Maya helped her get ready, making her mother twirl and giggle. "You look like a princess," Maya said. "I look like someone playing dress-up." "No, you look like you." Maybe that's what scared her most. At the gala, cameras flashed. People stared. Whispers followed them. "Who is she?" "The maid from his hotel. Gold digger." How embarrassing. Jasmine heard every word, felt every judgmental look. Her hand trembled in Alexander's. "We can leave," he murmured. "Right now. Say the word." But Jasmine thought of Maya at home with Caroline, of the battles they'd already fought, of how far they'd come. "No," she said, lifting her chin. "I'm not running." Alexander's smile was full of pride. "That's my girl. They walked into the ballroom together, head high, hand in hand. Halfway through the evening, Alexander clinked his glass. The room went quiet. "I have an announcement," he said. Jasmine's stomach dropped. "Alexander, what are you—" But he was already speaking. "Most of you know me as the CEO of Grant Industries. Some of you knew me as Emma's fiancé. For 10 years, that's all I've been. A businessman, a man in mourning, a shell of who I used to be." He looked at Jasmine. "Then I met this incredible woman. She's smart, strong, a devoted mother. She's overcome obstacles I can't even imagine, and she makes me want to be better, to live fully, to love again." The room was silent, every eye on them. "Her name is Jasmine Carter," Alexander continued, "and I'm honored to have her in my life. I'm honored that she and her daughter Maya have let me into their family, and I want everyone here to know that they are my priority, my future, my heart." Then he did something that made Jasmine gasp. He kissed her, right there, in front of everyone. Cameras flashed, people gasped, the gossip mill exploded. But Jasmine didn't care, because in that moment, she felt it. The shift from hidden to seen, from ashamed to celebrated, from less than to enough. When they pulled apart, the room erupted in whispers, some supportive, some scandalized. Alexander didn't flinch, just smiled at her like she was the only person in the world. "Was that okay?" he asked quietly. "That was perfect," she whispered. They left the gala early, drove back to Jasmine's apartment, to Maya and Caroline, who'd been watching movies and eating popcorn. "How was it?" Caroline asked. "Interesting," Alexander said. "He declared his love in front of everyone," Jasmine added, still dazed. Maya squealed. "Like in the movies." "Better than the movies," Alexander said, "because it's real." That night, after Caroline left and Maya was asleep, Alexander found Jasmine in the kitchen. She was washing dishes, a simple, ordinary task, but Alexander saw magic in it, in her, in this life they were building. "Jasmine," he said. She turned. "Yeah?" He pulled something from his pocket. Not a ring box, a folded piece of paper. She dried her hands, took it, unfolded it carefully. Maya's drawing, the one she'd sent him. 3 stick figures holding hands. Our family. But Alexander had done something to it. He'd had it framed, professionally, beautifully, like it was priceless art. "This is my treasure," he said quietly. "This picture, this family, you and Maya, everything we're building together." He knelt down on one knee, right there in her tiny kitchen. "I don't have a ring. Not yet. Because I wanted to ask you first, before I bought anything. Before I planned anything, I wanted to know if you'd even consider it." Jasmine's hands flew to her mouth. Tears filled her eyes. "Consider what?" she whispered. "Marrying me, being my wife, letting me be Maya's father in every way that matters, building a life together that's real and messy and complicated and beautiful." His voice shook. "I know it's fast. I know we still have obstacles, but I've wasted 10 years being afraid. I don't want to waste another day, so I'm asking, will you marry me?" Jasmine couldn't speak, could only sob. "Is that a yes?" Alexander asked nervously. "Yes!" The word burst out of her. "Yes, yes, yes!" He stood, pulled her into his arms, kissed her through both their tears. Behind them, a small voice said, "Does this mean Alex is my real daddy now?" They turned. Maya stood in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. "Maya, baby, you're supposed to be asleep," Jasmine said. "I heard talking." She walked over, looked up at Alexander. "Are you going to be my daddy?" Alexander crouched down. "I'd like to be, if that's okay with you. Will you stay forever? Promise?" "I promise. Forever and ever." "Can I call you daddy?" Alexander's voice broke. "I would be so honored." Maya launched herself at him. "Daddy, I have a daddy now." The 3 of them stood in that tiny kitchen, holding each other, crying and laughing and barely believing this was real. But it was. It was real, and it was theirs, and it was everything they'd been afraid to hope for. 3 months later, they had a small wedding in the park by the duck pond, the place where they'd almost given up, the place where they'd chosen to fight instead. Maya was the flower girl. She wore a purple dress and scattered petals with wild enthusiasm. Caroline sat in the front row crying happy tears. Mrs. Rodriguez came, and Maya's teacher, and Alexander's business partner who'd become a friend. It wasn't a grand affair. No ice sculptures or champagne towers, just simple decorations. A folding table with cake, wildflowers in mason jars. But when Jasmine walked down the makeshift aisle in a simple white dress, Alexander thought she was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. And when they said their vows, promising to be brave together, to fight for each other, to build a family on love instead of fear. There wasn't a dry eye present. "I love you," Alexander whispered as they were pronounced husband and wife. "I love you too," Jasmine whispered back. "Forever, forever." They kissed as Maya cheered, and the small crowd applauded. And somewhere, Alexander felt Emma's presence. Not sad, not angry, just peaceful. Like she was giving her blessing. Like she was telling him it was okay to move forward. Okay to live. Okay to love again. He sent a silent thank you to her, for the time they'd had, for the lessons she'd taught him, for leading him eventually to this moment. Then he turned his attention to his new wife, his new daughter, his new life, and he didn't look back. 6 months after the wedding, they sat around a table in their new home. Not a mansion, not a penthouse, just a house in a quiet neighborhood, 3 bedrooms, a backyard for Maya, space for all of them to grow. They'd found middle ground, between his world and hers, between wealth and simplicity, between fear and trust. Dinner was simple, spaghetti and salad, Maya's favorite, but it tasted like joy. Maya chattering about school, Jasmine laughing at something silly, Alexander content in a way he'd never thought possible. Caroline visited every Sunday, brought cookies, read stories, became the grandmother Maya had never had. The media had moved on to other scandals. The whispers had faded, the judgment had dulled, not because they'd proven anyone wrong, but because they'd stopped caring what anyone thought. They'd built something real, something lasting, something worth every struggle. After dinner, after Maya was tucked in and the dishes were done, Jasmine and Alexander stood in the backyard under the stars. "Happy?" he asked. "So happy." She leaned against him. "You. I never knew I could feel this way. Complete, whole, home. It wasn't easy getting here." "No, but it was worth it." She smiled. Every moment. They stood in comfortable silence. 2 people who'd found each other against the odds, who'd fought for love when everyone said it was impossible, who'd built a family from broken pieces. "Thank you," Alexander said softly. "For what? For not giving up on me, on us, for being brave when I was scared, for teaching me that love is worth the risk." Jasmine turned in his arms, looked up at him with those beautiful brown eyes that had captured his heart from the very first moment. "Thank you," she said, "for seeing me, for choosing us, for proving that fairy tales can come true, even for single mothers in tiny apartments who didn't think they deserved one. You deserve everything. I have everything, right here." He kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise. Inside, through the window, they could see Maya's nightlight glowing, could imagine her sleeping peacefully, the unicorn clutched tight, secure in the knowledge that her family was whole. And in that moment, standing in their backyard under a sky full of stars, Jasmine and Alexander knew they'd made it. Through grief and fear and doubt and struggle, they'd found their way to each other, and they'd found home, not in a place, but in each other, in the love they'd built, in the courage they'd found, in the family they'd become together, finally, forever.